Fresh out the box!
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Fresh Out the Podcast, number one podcast in my house. I am the board game guru and game master extraordinaire, Johannanan.
It's me, Casualty CDG, co-host of Fresh Out the Podcast and Fresh Out the Box, where we play tabletop role-playing games. But today I'm here to talk about stuff.
And I am the professional media and movie mastermind, the Funhouse Drew Munhausen, where I will be talking about media and movies. Surprisingly enough, it's episode 122 of Fresh Out the Podcast. And
You would think we don't even need, we don't really need to introduce ourselves anymore at this point, right? They know who we are and what we do. Can we just come on and just, like, mid-conversation expect them to catch up, or should we keep doing intros?
We can do that. I mean, you can pretty much just go, Fresh Out the Podcast. I'm Jahan. I'm Gary. I'm
Nope,
Drew. And
I
then
don't even want to do that because they already clicked Fresh Out the Podcast, you know what I mean? And it's already 120
Yeah, we're
episodes.
household names, Drew. Don't you know?
We just get into it. You know what I mean? We just start with the word "the" and we start talking about what we're talking about. You know what I mean?
Have you ever jumped into a podcast that is like hundreds of episodes in and you're like, I'm going to give this a try, and it's a little overwhelming because you don't know the people and you have to go through this phase of like kind of learning whose voice is whose and putting the name with the voices, and then all of a sudden, like, you're a few months in, you're like, these guys are my friends, even though you've never met them before.
That's us, bro.
It took me forever to be able to tell the fresh or no such thing as a fish people apart.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't do it. I was like, who's who again? Say your names
because
five
they're
more
all
times.
British.
Yeah, they're all British. It's awful.
I used to listen to, there's a Slash Film had a podcast that was called Slash Film Daily. I think they still do it. I don't really listen to it anymore, but I used to listen to it every day because they would just do like movie news of the day. It was like a 30-minute pod. I could listen to it on my way home from work when I would commute every day. And so I felt like I knew all of them personally. And then when I went to my first Fantastic Fest almost 2 years ago, some of those guys were there. And so like I was there. They're not even famous or anything, but it was like I knew them. It was almost like they were celebrities to me because I used to listen to them all the time, or almost like they were friends because I know their movie taste and stuff. And I did end up mustering the courage to go up and introduce myself, but afterwards it's super awkward. Like, you introduce yourself, they thank you for listening, and then you're like, you almost just want to have conversations with them about stuff, but you're a total stranger to them. It's very odd. It's a very odd dynamic.
I felt weird when I met Morgan Webb.
Oh, interesting. Where'd you meet her? At like a PAX or something?
At PAX, yeah.
Yeah. It's weird. Like when people that are media characters in media to you, and then when you meet them in person and you realize they're just totally normal people.
See, I wonder if that's what it's like when people come to meet me at the radio stuff, except I'm not a totally normal person.
You're like, see, I've had that too, where in my work, I've worked with a lot of reporters and media people, and some of them have like very over the top personalities on air, or when you're working with them on a news story. But then you're like, I wonder what this person is like when they're off the clock, like what their normal persona is like. And some of them, that's just how they are all the time.
Yeah, that's me. You know me. I'm just like this. I'm always like this. People show up to meet me, and I'm just a cartoon version of a human being.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, I can attest. Gary is that way, in a good way.
In a good way. Hey, speaking of in a good way, I got no segue for this, so
Well, it's not in a
Great
good
segue.
way right
Thanks.
now. Actually, what I had here is a discussion, because at the beginning of the year we typically do like what are kind of our most anticipated movies and shows and games coming up for the year. But when you do that in January, it's hard because things get delayed, things get moved around, things don't really have much buzz at the beginning of the year, and then end up becoming a big thing. Like, I don't know if any of us said the Fallout TV show was on our most anticipated shows of the year, but none of us knew how kind of a big deal.
I do think Jahan might have done that, to be honest. I think me and
Pretty
Jahan might have
sure
both had it
I
on
did
our.
that.
I could actually go back and look. I'll go do that in a minute.
We should check.
But you know what I mean? It's like you just can't predict what's going to be a big deal, what's going to be in the zeitgeist, so to speak. And
He spits acidic vomit.
Now we are officially in the summer box office season. And typically, this past weekend at the box office is a Marvel weekend. Usually Marvel has the first weekend of summer. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 came out this time last year. It made a lot of money. This year, there's no Marvel movie until Deadpool and Wolverine comes out in July. So the movie that kicked off the summer box office was The Fall Guy, which is the Ryan Gosling stuntman movie, which is getting good reviews. It's getting overall good responses from crowds, but it made about $28 million at the box office domestically this past weekend, which was under predictions. It was predicted to get around 30. I think early predictions were 30 to 35, came in under that. And it's just kind of raising a lot of eyebrows in Hollywood because, Ryan Gosling's a big star. There's a lot of goodwill there. He's, coming off of Barbie, which was the most popular movie of last year. The Fall Guy is technically IP. It's based off of an old TV show, but none of us would really know that unless you're, over the age of 50. The Fall Guy old show with Lee Majors. But, yeah, like for me, the marketing for this movie looked good. The trailers looked good. The movie's okay, but not very many people went to go see it, and it's kind of unclear.
Would you like to hear my take?
I would genuinely love to hear it.
I think I know why.
Yeah, go.
What I think is like Netflix, right? They did the big like The Rock movies and the Ryan Reynolds big action flick movies. And to me, you can't really top that as far as action goes. Those are the biggest action guys right now. So if the expectation is that top guys are doing streaming action movies, then why go to a theater to see a streaming action movie? Even the top guys are going straight to streaming. They just put themselves in a position where they devalued themselves.
And Gosling's even done that. That movie, The Gray Man, that nobody remembers, that was like a huge budget
I remember
action movie. Yeah, I mean, like, he's done that. This is much better than that. But I mean, are y'all even familiar with The Fall Guy? Like, is it something that interests you at all?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's on my radar. I know what it is. It looks cool, but again, it's just not something I'm going to rush out to theaters and see. It's an action movie, and action movies come out on streaming. They just do. They all will. Even all the Mission Impossibles are out on streaming. And if I was going to go see anything in theaters, it would be a Mission Impossible action flick. But, just the stuff surrounding Fall Guy, like you said, it was well received and people are liking it. I saw the stuff where they did like the live stage event and the stuntmen came off the balconies and action rolled onto the stage. That, all that stuff is really cool, but it's still just, it's not making me want to rush out to the theater or anything.
Are there any movies that are coming out this summer off the top of your head that you're like, yes, I'm going to go see that in theaters?
I'll go see Deadpool. I'll go see Deadpool Wolverine.
Yeah, Deadpool Wolverine. I was going to say the same. I honestly can't think of anything else really off the top of my head.
Next week we've got a Planet of the Apes movie comes out, Kingdom of Planet.
I would see that
Planet
in
of the Apes
theaters
is next weekend.
I don't think it's going to be the best, but I'll go watch it.
Then we have If, the John Krasinski directed live action animated hybrid with Ryan Reynolds and Steve Carell, like about imaginary friends.
It could be good, it could be funny, but I don't have high hopes.
Yeah, that's a maybe for me. I also have no expectations at all.
Then Furiosa.
Oh yeah,
comes out the weekend after that.
I'm actually very excited for that one. Yeah,
I would get with Furiosa.
We're getting a new Bad Boys movie in June.
Hard pass.
Inside
I don't know.
Out 2.
Inside Out 2 is not going to happen. Bad Boys 4 might happen, though.
If I had to choose between those two movies, I would go see Inside Out.
No way. That's crazy.
They're not the same weekend, but they're a week apart. I'm just going through some different ones. A Quiet Place Day 1, which is the A Quiet Place.
That could be good.
Prequel movie.
Is that one directed by what's his face still? Also,
John Krasinski.
It is not.
Interesting.
I don't know then. I don't know.
I don't know. Like, yeah, he made the other ones really good, but like, it could be interesting to see what someone else does with it.
Sure.
At this point,
I know you're a big fan of Tremors, and it kind of gives me Tremors vibes where once
like
you start
Tremors.
passing around the project and having prequels and stuff like that, it can get kind of out of hand. But you like Tremors, so that's not bad for you.
The prequel was not great, but honestly, it was passable. Yeah, the first 4 movies are good. After that, they're
at
trash.
this point, there's really only 2 movies this summer that I think are absolute sure bets for making a lot of money at the box office. And those 2 movies are Deadpool and Wolverine.
Hell yeah.
And Furiosa.
And Despicable Me 4.
Oh
I
yeah, I
think
bet
Despicable
that.
Me 4, it'll be bigger than Deadpool and Wolverine, honestly.
Didn't
Deadpool,
Fury
Wolverine's
Road-
R-rated.
Didn't Fury Road do really well? Didn't it slam dunk, go hard?
It did. I am okay. To be clear, Furiosa probably my most anticipated movie of the summer. I think that I have that over Deadpool and Wolverine personally. I love Mad Max Fury Road. I think Furiosa looks great. George Miller has never done me wrong with these movies. Like I think it's going to be good. I think it will be well received. I don't know if it's going to be a box office success. And there's a lot
I
of
think
reasons.
it will be.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good. Like, I mean, I hope it is. It's just you've got a Mad Max adjacent movie about a supporting character that's not played by the same actress that played her in the original appearance. It's just kind of like one of
Yeah.
those weird spin-offs.
But Anna Taylor-Joy though.
It is.
And
Chris
Chrissy
Hemsworth's in it
Hems.
too.
Chrissy Hems, yeah.
It's definitely a weird spin-off. You're definitely right, but I loved Fury Road. I don't care at all about the first 2 Mad Maxes. I've tried watching them. I get it, whatever, cult classic, not for me. They're hard to watch and they're not very good.
It's 3.
Whatever. And then Fury Road slaps hard, right? So this new version, this rebirth, I'm about this setting and I'm about this world. So I'll go see it. I just don't know if I speak for other people who loved Fury Road or not.
I
Interesting.
enjoyed the original franchise more or less. It was fine. First one's really good, and then Thunderdome's classic. They kind of get a
Road
little
Warrior's the best of those 3 of the Mel Gibson ones. I would say 2, 3, 1 is the order for
2,
me
3, 1.
personally.
I can't really remember 2. Is 2 the one with the kid with the boomerang?
Yes.
Okay, that one's good. Yeah. But yeah, no. I mean, Fury Road was probably. I would say Fury Road's a perfect movie. Like, it's one of those
Yes,
movies I could
I
watch over and over. Soundtrack 10, special effects 10, acting 10. Like all of it. Like it's such a great movie, and so I feel like this can't fall that far off of it. So I feel like it's going to get butts in seats.
How are you feeling about Inside Out 2?
I don't know, man. It's, I feel like it's been long enough that the hype for that movie probably faded. I don't know, man. I'm not too excited about it. I'll watch it, but I don't need to see it in theaters, but I probably will end up going. I feel like Jen would probably want to see it.
I think early tracking for it is doing pretty good. The first one made a lot of money. It's just we're in a weird place with Pixar, where Pixar has been underperforming. Actually, Disney animation in general has been underperforming since COVID. It's been hard to bounce back because Pixar movies were going straight to streaming at one point, and Elemental actually ended up doing well last year over such a long period of time. I don't know if Inside Out 2 will be able to do that. I feel like Inside Out 2 is bigger than Elemental, so maybe it will. But but yeah, I don't know. I that's why I'm not willing to put it in the sure bet category alongside Despicable Me 4 and Deadpool and Wolverine.
I feel like Despicable Me is definitely going to perform well because they always do. People are obsessed with those movies.
Yeah, I think Despicable Me 4 will be the biggest movie of the year, probably. I think from a box office standpoint, it'll be the closest to $1 billion, if not going over $1 billion. Last year, we got $2 billion movies. It was the Super Mario Brothers movie and Barbie. I think are the only two movies that crossed $1 billion at the box office.
That's crazy.
And compared to like 2019, when there were 6 or 7 or 8 movies, I can't remember how many that all crossed $1 billion. They were all Disney releases for the most part. Not all, but a lot of them were. Because that's when we had, Endgame, The Lion King live action, Aladdin live action, Captain Marvel made over. I mean, like all those movies made over $1 billion. Toy Story 4.
That was a bad time to be alive.
And now it's obviously way toned down. Yeah, I don't know. It's just we're in a. I feel like there have been summers where you're just like, oh, every weekend there's a sure bet, and I don't feel like that's the case this summer. And we're off to a rough start from a box office standpoint. And box office overall has been down significantly this year, which is a shame for people that like going to the movies like me.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy it. And honestly, like, it's nice to be back. I'm finally in the place where, like, I'm enjoying going back. There just hasn't been that much to draw me there. I've been so busy, like, I have to want to see something, and it's just, it's not a great selection these days.
Yeah, we're in that kind of drought until the summer really, really kicks off, which now it really has. Now we're going to get a steady stream of decent stuff coming out. I think Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes will actually do pretty well. It's not going to do, like, gangbusters, but I think it will do well.
I think it'll do okay. It looks fine. It looks fine.
Yeah, I think those movies are fine, but at this point, I've seen it. They need to take another 20-year break before they do it again.
I really like the new ones, but I feel like they came to a good point, and now they're fast forwarding to like where the apes can talk and like all this stuff. Like, I don't know. The cool part was watching the fall of man, and so I feel like it's just not as interesting to see.
I think it's fair to say they jumped the ape.
Yeah, no, they jumped the ape.
Yeah, no Andy Serkis. Although I think he might have helped coach ape actors, but he's not in it. Yeah, we'll see. I've actually liked this conversation because y'all are a lot more optimistic than I expected you to be, so that makes me happy. Also, I can confirm that Gary and I had Fallout as honorable mentions for top 3 anticipated shows, but it was in Jahan's 3.
Hell yeah,
dude.
You were correct.
And
me and Gary had Furiosa in our top 3 anticipated movies.
There you go.
Hey.
That's a good pick.
There you go. Jahan had Planet of the Apes in his.
Yeah. That was before I saw the footage, and now I'm kind of meh. But we'll see. I'm still gonna watch it.
Before I move on entirely from summer box office, we did get a picture preview of the summer box office for 2025, because that's when Superman Legacy comes out, the James Gunn directed Superman film. We did get the first image of David Cornsweet officially all dressed up, decked out in Superman gear.
Did you say corn sweat?
Did you say David Cornbread?
I believe it's corn sweat. Let me make sure I
said corn sweat,
correctly.
Gary.
You definitely said David Cornbread.
You're gonna want to take those off the stovetop. They're starting to sweat.
You got to get that good corn sweat on there. Cornbread's done.
David Cornsweet, yeah, Corenswet, David Cornsweet.
What an awful name. I'm sorry to you and your family.
It is a pretty good looking picture of Superman, though.
But hey, you're going to be Superman, so, consolation prize. Consolation prize? Yeah, consolation prize. I said constellation prize because I'm smart.
I was thinking about this the other day. as I was looking at it because, and we've all kind of had this conversation similarly as well about the James Gunn of it all and the DC. And James Gunn, for better or for worse, is super active on social media. He's constantly posting pictures and such of like behind the scenes. He's already done like cast photos and of script readings and people, getting ready for the role. So he's had pictures of like David Cornsweet and Rachel Brosnahan and Nick Holt together, who are playing Superman, Lois Lane, and Lex Luthor respectively. And so we've already had a lot, and he's even shown the S logo, so we knew what that was going to look like. But this is the first picture of Superman like all dressed up and kind of like looking more in movie, I should say, that we've seen. And I feel like because James Gunn is so active, it kind of landed with a like, okay, like I almost felt like, haven't we seen this already? But we haven't. So I think
it's kind of cool. I'm looking at it right now for the first time, and I like that I like it. It's a cool looking Superman, and I like that he's all dirtied up. It's a nice dirty Superman. I'd expect that from James Gunn. He's probably flying through buildings and covered in all kinds of rubble and crap all the time. But yeah, I think it's a good looking picture.
Do you have any comments on his sense of urgency?
Yeah, that shit's pretty funny.
Yeah, I think that's hilarious. There's obviously, well, like I say, he's already dirty, right? So he's already been through it in this, whatever scene this is, he's been through it already. So whatever's going on in the background back there, that's just the next thing he has to continue dealing with. So yeah, I kind of like this. I kind of like the Superman I'm looking at here.
Yeah, no, people saying he should hurry up and put his boots on so he can go. Because, like, he's super fast. Like, what are you doing? Go save people. But, yeah, I thought that was a really funny thing people were pointing out.
I mean, he probably is putting them on super fast, but we're looking at it through a Superman cam.
A special camera that can catch Superman putting on his boots.
I mean, do you really want him just, like, running around like he's high on crack the whole time, acting like a crack addict trying to slam his boots on? Like, let this man put his shoes on.
Would Superman really need to sit down to put his shoes on? I don't know. These are the questions.
Even take shoes? Does he even need shoes? What's the point of shoes?
That's
Superman?
A good point.
Well, that's where I'm at too. Like, your suit is already dirtied up and you've been through it. Why do you feel the need to just replace your boots? Like, are you just really into kicks that much that you want to show them off and have them be shiny and clean? Like, what are we doing here?
I've never thought about what the point of his boots are. Yeah, there's no point to them. His feet are tougher than any material. It's
okay,
funny.
but then you can get into like the underwear outside the suit and what the point is. I mean, then you could question a lot of things.
I feel like maybe we should sometime. Maybe we should sit down and evaluate this. But for now, it looks good. I'm excited for the James Gunn reboot for the first time, really. I'm kind of optimistic about it now. I'm starting to see that, it looks like he's taking his time doing it right, starting from scratch, and potentially giving us something really good. So I'm going to give him a shot, and I hope he doesn't let us down.
Guardians made me happy last year. I really enjoyed it, and I do have to give credit, even though I can kind of like give James Gunn a hard time because I do think it's funny that he's like a lurker and active on Twitter and on the internet and whatever. But that being said, I don't think he would be doing this movie if he didn't feel like he had unlocked it. You know what I mean? Like that he figured out what the right combination is and to move forward. So I'll give him trust.
James Gunn didn't come over to DC so that he could bomb. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
And he picked Superman, as far as I know. Like, he wanted to do a new Superman, so he must have had something in his pocket. I hope he makes him fight a giant spider.
Me too. The Flash did not fill that desire, did it?
No, this is just a glimpse.
All right. Well, anything else on Superman before we move into our fresh movies of the week?
Nah, dog.
Nope.
I think I'm the only one with fresh movies of the week. So I will kick it off with The Fall Guy, which we mentioned when talking about the summer box office, but I'll just talk about it a little bit more in depth here. I went and saw The Fall Guy. I liked it overall. It's directed by David Leitch, who has kind of an up and down history for me. He co-directed John Wick with Chad Stahelski, and Chad Stahelski's continued on with John Wick. He's directed 2, 3, and 4. but now David Leitch has been kind of all over the place, right? He directed Atomic Blonde, he directed Deadpool 2, directed Fast and the Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw, and then most recently Bullet Train. So like
I like
Deadpool 2,
Bullet
I think,
Train,
yeah, Deadpool 2 I think is pretty good. Hobbs and Shaw less so. Bullet Train had things that I liked about it, but also things I thought were grating. Like overall, I liked that movie, but I just feel like I was a little up and down with it. And I'd say The Fall Guy, I probably liked a little bit more than Bullet Train, but falls into a similar category. So like, it is an action movie. It is about a stuntman played by Ryan Gosling. His character's name is Colt Seavers. And he is the stuntman for a famous actor named Tom Ryder that's played by Aaron Taylor Johnson. And when Tom Ryder goes missing, essentially Gosling's character, Colt Seavers, who's his stuntman, is kind of hired to try and find him and ends up in kind of a crime wave and doing like big stunts that go along with his profession. And meanwhile, there's a love story going on with Emily Blunt's character. Her name's Jodie, which she's like originally a camera operator, but then gets upgraded to director on this movie that's basically like a big it's actually very funny because it's riffing on Dune. Like the big action movie they're making is like a parody of Dune meets Mad Max. It's very silly. It's like cowboys and aliens, but with like a riff on the Dune score. It's actually very funny and well done. But yeah, overall I'd say it is good. The first third of it, I was like, I'm not vibing with this at all. The dialogue was very snappy, and they're very good, but it was too much. I was like, man, for a movie that's sold on its action, there's a whole lot of talking in this movie, and it's kind of dragging for me. But then once the action picks up, it's all uphill from there, and I thought it was quite fun. So overall, Aaron Taylor Johnson is in this. He was also in Bullet Train. He was one of the assassins. I can't remember what his code name was in Bullet Train. And in this, he's playing almost like I'd compare the voice he was doing to like a Matthew McConaughey kind of accent, and it was pretty funny. And it was just interesting watching him because he's got Kraven coming out later this year because he's playing Kraven the Hunter, which has been delayed several times and finally coming out. But if you haven't been following the news, Aaron Taylor Johnson is like all but confirmed to be the next James Bond. Like that's who's been rumored. He's apparently had conversations. There are some websites that are trying to confirm it, but it hasn't been officially confirmed. But it sounds like he might be the next Bond. So it's interesting watching him in this, and then just with that in the back of your mind. But I digress.
Yeah,
so,
no, I think his name was like Tangerine or something.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah,
like
I think that's right.
It was either him or his partner. They had like fruit names or something.
He's one of those guys that's like, he was Kick-Ass, and he was Quicksilver in the MCU, and he's been in a lot of movies. He was in the Godzilla movie. He's been around, but I feel like he just isn't like a big movie star yet. Like he's been in a lot of big movies. You might know his name, but not a true household name. I wonder what it is that's keeping him from being like a true guy. Does that make sense? Like a go-to guy.
Yeah. No, definitely. I mean, he's always been, like tangent to it. He's never really been in that position. And I don't know why. Like, he's always so close to it. Maybe he's hard to work with or something. I don't know. But yeah, I think he's great in all those roles. I love Bullet Train. I love him in Kick-Ass. I thought he was a great Quicksilver. And yeah, I don't know. Craven's a weird role. But
Bond would probably do it. Yeah. I don't know what the reasoning is behind the Craven choice. Who knows?
Who knows? But Bond will definitely get him up there for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, The Fall Guy, I would say it's certified fresh. Even though I had a few quips with it, overall I thought it was pretty good, and I would certify it fresh. And I would recommend seeing it in a theater. That's the most fun way to see it. So that's The Fall Guy. I also watched a movie called The Idea of You. This is a romantic movie that's streaming on Prime Video, starring Anne Hathaway. The premise of it is Anne Hathaway's character takes her daughter and friends to Coachella and has like a chance meeting with this guy who's part of a boy band, and he's like 24 and she's about to turn 40, and they end up having a romance, and then it's all about like hiding the romance because he's super famous and also he's so much younger, and how that, you know, plays into their romance. Some aspects of this, it's based on a novel, so it's a very popular novel, but it almost feels like AI making a romance movie. But Anne Hathaway is actually really, really good in it. Like, she's way better than she has any right to be in this straight to Prime Video romance movie. She's really good in it, and because of that, overall the movie is decent. Like, it's not going to blow you away, but if you want to see a good Anne Hathaway performance, check it out. So that's The Idea of You. It's streaming on Prime Video. Overall, I'd say I liked it. And then I watched Immaculate. Are y'all familiar with Immaculate by any chance?
Not at all.
Are you familiar with a certain actress named Sydney Sweeney?
Yes.
Who the internet, I would say, has a unhealthy infatuation with these days. I don't know how else to describe Sydney Sweeney. She comes from the Euphoria crowd.
She's so hot right now. Yeah. No, I got you.
I mean, she is. And in Immaculate, she plays a nun who becomes pregnant.
Oh boy.
Perceived to be an immaculate conception, and how
the
that
fun way or the God way?
In the God way.
Oh, immaculate conception.
Yeah, she's a nun, becomes pregnant. How did this happen? But it's a horror movie. And it's also kind of better than it has any right to be. Like, I didn't have high expectations. I thought this was actually kind of fun. I don't think Sydney Sweeney, it just depends. Like, she's in the first season of The White Lotus, and she's really good in it. She's also very good in Euphoria. I haven't seen Anyone But You, which is the rom-com she did with Glenn Powell that was kind of popular at the end of last year. It's on Netflix now. But I've heard from all accounts, I've heard she's not very good in that, or from an acting perspective. And in this, I thought she was okay, but she's actually very good at the end and playing up the horror aspect of it. So I actually liked this as well. I'd give it like a 3 out of 5. So that's Immaculate. I rented it on Apple TV. I don't know when it will come to streaming. I think it's still in some theaters. So that's it. Those are the 3 movies that I've watched recently. Gary, I saw you just had a last edition here.
Yeah, man. Today before work, I had a little bit of time, so I had about an hour and a half. I thought maybe I could watch this Unfrosted thing on Netflix. It's by, Seinfeld. It's like a Seinfeld-y movie, and it's absolutely awful, guys. It's dog shit. It's so bad. It's one of the worst things I've seen in a long time. It's kind of like a sketch comedy movie about the story of how Pop-Tarts were created, but it's not like a biopic. It's a sketch comedy movie. It's like watching a really long, really bad episode of Drunk History. It's painful, and I went and thumbs downed it on Google, and I don't recommend that anyone watch Unfrosted.
So it's funny you say this. I thought it looked fun from initial trailers and pictures. Like, I had seen the stuff of Hugh Grant dressed as Tony the Tiger and that kind of stuff. And then this came out, and all my Letterboxd follows, it was like 1-star reviews. Avoid at all costs.
Yeah, man.
It seems to be universally despised.
Okay. I was going to say there's not a single scene, there's not a single saving grace in the movie. That's wrong. There are these 2 little kids who keep sneaking into the dumpsters at the Post and Kellogg places and creating cereals out of trash. And then that's how Kellogg's and Post are coming up with their new ideas, because these little kids are just eating goo out of the dumpsters. That's pretty funny. Other than that, and those 2 little kids, all the actual are terrible in this. It's really hard to watch. I don't recommend Unfrosted to anyone. I think that Netflix should just take it down, bro. It's embarrassing.
Yikes. Isn't this directed by Jerry Seinfeld, too?
Yes, sir. And it's just... It's, like I said, it's a sketch comedy that doesn't stop and isn't funny. I mean, the whole thing goes on too long. It's bad. It's hard.
I feel like he hasn't been funny for like a solid 10 years. So, like, just go be rich,
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised by any means. I just want to make sure you guys know, just stay away from it or know what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah. I've seen it. I've seen it.
Thank you for
on the
saving us.
Yeah, I saw it on the Netflix like watch this thing, and it did not look appealing to me, so I didn't watch it. But yeah, thank you for saving us, Gary.
Yeah, no problem, man. It's got Amy Schumer and Melissa McCarthy, so ha 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 ha.
Well, speaking of Netflix, and maybe to get that bad taste out of your mouth, perhaps we could talk about something more delicious in Dungeon. Delicious in Dungeon, Gary. You've been hounding us, and I felt bad because
you do love me.
I was like, man, I do love Gary. I gotta watch this show because it means so much to him. And dude, I watched like a good 5 of these. Man, it gets better and better. Like every episode, the characters develop. Like there's a lot of character development. There's a lot of advancing in the story, and the cooking aspect of it is always funny and interesting. It's very creative the way they do things. They accidentally made sorbet, and I was...
You messaged me the other day, and that was super funny. They used ghost ectoplasm to make sorbet.
Yeah, on accident, and like I was laughing really hard. It was pretty funny. It's not inherently a comedy, but it is funny. I agree to recommend Delicious in Dungeon on Netflix. Check it out.
Yes, my man.
I only got one more show on here, and it's something we talked about before, so I'll just knock it out. But still watching Fallout. I'm still trying to get through it. Really enjoy it still. Every episode is great. The story progresses. The world is completely immersive. And just wild stuff keeps happening. It very much is like the games where you can't take a step without stepping into some sort of trouble or danger or side quest or whatever. Fallout is an absolute triumph, and I think Amazon Prime knocked it out of the park with this show. If you've been sleeping on this, don't wake up. Go watch it.
Yeah, I'm with you, Jahan. Fallout is maybe one of the best Amazon Prime shows ever made.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When it came to what's going to be better, Game of Thrones or the new Lord of the Rings series, that was not even close. But, if you just want to compare quality, they're hard to compare the two. But between Game of Thrones and Fallout, you're looking at 2 great shows on each network now. The Fallout is really something special that stands out from the rest of what Amazon has, I think.
Yeah, it's a breath of fresh air in the streaming space, period. It's quality above, like leagues above other shows coming out. So yeah, it's definitely something worth checking out.
I've been all over Netflix. I've been getting into it deep styles, bro. I've been waist deep. I've been knee deep in Netflix, and I've just been going for stand-up. I've been going for it. I watched John Mulaney's, or I'll stop with that one because that one's more current. I watched the Dave Attell stand-up, Hot Cross Buns. I watched the Jimmy Carr new stand-up, Natural Born Killer. Drew and I were both watching the roast of Tom Brady. And then right now, this week on Netflix, is John Mulaney's Everybody's in L.A. And so it's every single day, Monday through Friday. There's a new episode every day. And he's just got a bunch of comedians coming on from L.A. and they're on to talk and they're on to hang out. Just a bunch of great comedy, man. The Jimmy Carr stuff, I remember sticking out as just being great. Natural Born Killer is his new special that came out this year. And it is just twisted and dark comedy, just super twisted stuff that you would like, Jahan. Dave Attell, if you guys grew up with Dave Attell, he's still great. He's just still in his...
I remember Insomniac.
Insomniac?
Dude.
Yeah, bro.
Oh my God, I love that show, dude.
Me too. So if you like Dave Attell, Hot Cross Buns is good. That one was fun to watch. And then I actually watched the Cat Williams stand-up that came out this week. And this one really stuck out to me because I would not consider myself a fan of Cat Williams by any stretch of the imagination. Like, I probably would never go see him live. Well, I wouldn't have until this. He's fine. He's completely fine and maybe a little annoying sometimes, but every now and then he has a good joke. The newest Cat Williams stand-up started a little rough, but by the end, I was laughing out loud by myself in my house, just like holding my stomach laughing. And then in his closing joke, I just had tears streaming down my face, laughing, crying alone in my house. The new Cat Williams stand-up was phenomenal.
Cat
so
Williams
Netflix
is
for me,
dude.
Lots of comedy.
He's always sweating his ass off because he's working so hard.
And you're already a fan of Cat Williams, you'll like this even more because I'm just kind of meh on him, and it blew my mind. It was such a great stand-up. And then, Drew, I think you watched more of the roast than I did, so I'll let you talk more about the roast.
I did. Yeah, I was hanging out that evening. I got a text from some friends that was like, hey, the roast of Tom Brady's on live, and I was like, oh, I'll turn this on. And it was maybe about 15 minutes in. I honestly just initially was like, I'm just gonna check this out and see what it looks like. And I just still find the concept of Netflix doing live shows to be really fascinating in itself. We had the big Chris Rock one last year. Stand-up special was like their first big live event, and now they've done a few since, and this was another one. And I turned it on, and it was right as Jeff Ross was coming out to do his roasting.
Oh my God, the Jeff Ross costume was so funny. Oh my God, Jeff Ross.
he always goes for it.
And so as soon as that happened, of course, I'm like, well, I have to watch this. And then I just stayed glued to it. I watched the whole thing, and it went until it was almost 3 hours long. And part of it was just because not every comedian or person on it was batting 100, but a lot of them were very good or surprised me. But it was just one of those events that as you were watching it live, you're like, I have to keep watching this because I just don't know what's going to happen or who's going to come out. Or,
it
what's
was
going to happen
really
next.
exciting too, just because the whole crowd now, like, back in the day, you used to only recognize maybe 4 or 5 people in a crowd for a roast. Now everyone in the crowd is a celebrity. Everyone in the building is famous. It was just, the turnout there was amazing. The production quality was crazy. The tables looked expensive. The stage looked great. It was a really well-produced event.
Well, and one of the things that was fun about it is, this was a roast, and in these roasts, typically it's like nothing's off the table. Like, if you're going to offend people, these roasts are the place to do it. And it was very clear early on with some of the jokes that they started to make. It was like, oh, wow, there's nothing that's off the table here. Like, the first Aaron Hernandez joke that came out, I was like, oh my gosh. And then there were some craft jokes and about, massages that happened, and there was like no punches were held. And even by the end of it, when Brady did his section at the end, like, he was surprisingly great. Like, he had some really, really good jokes. But there was just a lot of greats. I won't say everybody that was in it, because in case people want to watch it, there are some fun surprises and I don't want to spoil it. But overall, I thought this was solid. It helps that a lot of Brady's former Patriots teammates are all charismatic in their own way. You've got Gronk is Gronk, of course, but like Julian Edelman and Drew Bledsoe and folks that, like former teammates did pretty well. Like, not all the jokes landed, but whoever was writing their jokes did a pretty good job. And then, of course, all the comedians were, for the most part, pretty good. So I did not even plan to watch this initially, turned it on, and then stayed glued to it. So overall, I'd say that's a big success for Netflix. It felt like a lot of people were talking about it. So that's a good get for them. There hasn't been a good roast like this in a long time.
Yeah, I haven't
actually watched. Oh, go ahead, John. I'm sorry.
I haven't seen it yet, but I've seen a lot of clips like on TikTok and stuff, and the ones I've seen are pretty funny and pretty brutal. There's a couple. Who was making fun? Someone was making fun of Kevin Hart being short again, and like, you'd think that would get old, but man, it was really good.
You took the words out of my mouth, Jahan. Like, there are only so many jokes you would think you could make about Kevin Hart being short or how dumb Gronk is, but they were all landing for me for the most part. Like,
even me know that no real money.
That was a good one.
That was good.
Nikki Glaser did great.
Nikki Glaser's hilarious, dude.
Yeah, she did do great. That was a really good roast all together. Like I said, I didn't finish it, and I won't spoil the guest. There was a guest who came out who was pretty lackluster, and I was like, I'll come back to this. I'll definitely finish the roast, but you know how roasts are. Sometimes they're on fire, and sometimes they're not. Kevin Hart came out. He was the master of ceremonies, really, and he came out swinging, dude. He crushed Tom Brady. It was super funny. He was like, he had a bit where he was like, you ever just give up your wife and your family and all your money and everyone who loves you just so you could go 8 and 9? You ever do that?
Yeah.
Because Tom Brady did that.
Yeah, no, I saw what he said about that, and that was funny, dude. It was so
just murdered him, bro. He got slayed. It was good. It was a lot of fun. Also on Netflix, I got one last quick show to talk about, Prank Magic. It came out a few weeks ago. I watched it, I liked it, and forgot to talk about it because we weren't doing the podcast as regularly at the time. There are only like maybe 5 or 6 episodes. It's real easy to get through. I'm a huge fan of Jackass and that kind of thing where they're setting up pranks, for lack of a better word, these events to try to, fool somebody or get somebody. So this show to me is great. They show you a lot of how they set up the prank, but not all the secrets to the magic. And a lot of it, of course, is going to be camera work and just moving fast and things like that, sleight of hand. But the last episode, Jahan, it is probably the funniest thing that you, Jahan, will ever see in your entire life.
Oh, man. All right, I'll watch it.
I don't want to totally spoil it, but it has to do. They have a hypnotist.
Okay.
And hypnotizing is a big part of the prank.
Okay.
And they totally prank the guy and then hypnotize him and then prank him again for no reason. And it is so funny.
That's
I was
funny.
dying. Yeah, it's when you get there, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It's been in my head for weeks. Watch Prank Magic. It's funny. If you like magic and you like pranks, don't sleep on Prank Magic. It's exactly what it sounds like. I would watch a whole nother season. It was fun. It was lighthearted. It was a good time.
I always wanted to be a magician, but I have these stupid sausage fingers, so I can't.
It is why they call them Paulie sausage fingers.
Yeah.
I also have these sausage fingers, but no, I don't want to be a magician. That's a you thing.
I want to be a magician. Yeah, so, hey, that's Fresh TV this week. Moving right along to, looks like some people finished some games here. Drew, would you like to kick it off here?
I can. So I did talk about RoboCop Rogue City a little bit last week. And just to say I finished it after that conversation. And overall, I enjoyed my time with it. I think I got it for like $30 in a sale. I don't know if I'd say spend $30 on it. It is definitely like a great Game Pass get if it eventually comes to the service, or even if it gets down to like $19.99 maybe. But if you're looking for a single-player first-person shooter to play that's not very difficult, where you play as RoboCop and you're overpowered and you move slow, yeah, it's great. But we talked about it last week.
It's very niche.
We talked about it last week. It dated was the right word. But it was still satisfying in its own way. You get different, like circuit chips, I guess, different chips you can put in your gun to upgrade it, and you can use different power-ups in it. And by the end of the game, I had gotten one. Like I just came across it naturally, and there was a perk on it that gave me where my gun didn't have to reload. So I just basically had unlimited ammo. So by the end of it, you're truly just a walking tank, indestructible, and killing so many enemies on screen. So I had a really fun time with RoboCop Rogue City for what it is. I don't know if I'd say spend, an arm and a leg on it, but if you're interested and you really like RoboCop, sure, why not? And so then
an arm and a leg is less than RoboCop spent.
That's funny. You're funny.
Thanks.
I started up another game. I was like, I want a big kind of open world game with a lot of icons and checklisty things like a la Assassin's Creed or something, but just something different. And there's a PS5 exclusive game that came out last year that I kind of wanted to try, but it didn't review very well. It's called Forspoken, and it was, I think it's a Square Enix game. And I don't know. I just was like, I'll wait for it to be on sale, and it was on sale in the spring sale on PlayStation. So I went ahead and got it. I've started playing it. I'm sure this probably isn't one y'all are too familiar with because you're not PlayStation guys, but it's your typical, like, it's a New Yorker girl who finds this bracelet, transports her to like a fantasy type world, big open world.
It's an
being
isekai.
Plagued. Yeah, he's being plagued by a blight, or like she call it the break. That's kind of making people turn into zombies, all that kind of stuff. And there's a huge open world with lots of things to check off. So in that way, it like should be everything that I wanted it to be. It looks very good. There's a parkour system, like you hold the circle button on PlayStation, and your character, her name's Frey. She runs and jumps over things and climbs, and it's like this really cool parkour system, but it's just one of those games where there's cool things in it, but it doesn't all work as a great cohesive package, and the combat in it isn't super fun, and most of the activities around the world have to deal with the combat. So I'm like, in the open world is huge. I've maybe put in about 7 hours into it, and I've like barely scratched the surface of anything. So we'll see. I'll keep playing it for the story for a little bit, but overall it's not really scratching the itch. But I'm a PlayStation Plus subscriber for like their kind of Game Pass ripoff that's not as good as Game Pass, but they have kind of like a subscription service now. And I've been wanting to play a little bit more of my PlayStation, which I know is like we're the Xbox guys on here, so we don't talk PlayStation as much. But as I've also said, I have a new baby at home. So my gaming time recently has just been very limited, or I get a night here and there where I can put in a few hours. And the way that my home is organized is like my gaming area is very out of the way. Like I have a media room that is not close to like the living area of my home, so it's, if I'm playing games, it is a choice. Like I am very separated. Yeah. I've been wanting to be able to play games, but maybe a little bit more on the go. I've played my Switch a bit, and so I ordered a new toy. And it's supposed to be here tomorrow. So I'll talk about it more next week. Not a Steam Deck. I got a PlayStation Portal. Oh, okay. Are you familiar with the PlayStation Portal, Jahan?
I think I've seen them because everyone's making something like that now. I'll look at it, though.
Is it the one where you have the blue one and the red one, and then if you jump through, you come out the other side?
That's just the game Portal.
That's mine.
PlayStation Portal is like a very niche device. It is a PlayStation remote play device. So basically what it is as long as it's on the same Wi-Fi as your PS5, you can play your PS5 remotely. It kind of looks like a Switch. It literally looks like you took a PS5 remote, sawed it in half, glued a screen in between, and then made it work. So it doesn't...
It's literally what it looks like. It's kind of comical.
Yeah, it's not like a Switch where all the hardware is built into it. It streams. So it streams your PS5 over your Wi-Fi to this remote device. So I'm like, I'm going to try this out. It's a way I can play my PS5 anywhere in my home as long as my Wi-Fi is good. And so I'm interested to see how it plays. And then I can play, true console games that are more powerful games than some of the Switch games. And hopefully I can play it around my house. So I'll be talking about it a little bit more next week after I've played with it a little bit. So I should be getting it tomorrow.
I like to smoke hella weed when I get home, right? And when I'm smoking hella weed, I like to put on a little music, do a little drive around. So I've been playing Forza all the time. It's my just me chilling by myself game. And then today, I beat all the races. And I was like, what the... Damn it. Because now I can't just drive around and race anymore. So I'm probably going to have to go back and reinstall Forza Horizon 4 now so that I can race some more. I'm a little annoyed that I beat every race, but I felt like I had to tell you guys that's what I've been up to.
Hell yeah, man. Nah, man, we got to get you a new racing game for sure. Yeah, the PlayStation Portal looks cool.
I actually added a couple to my wish list. I went through and found a couple of racing games that looked kind of fun. I put them on my Xbox wish list. See if they go on sale. I might pick up a couple and let you guys know what's up.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, definitely, yeah. This is the place. I'm not a big racing game guy, but I'm glad you like it. And sometimes they can be fun. And
one of the ones that I've got on my list is like full destruction. The cars have like miniguns and rocket launchers and stuff, and it's more racing.
That's cool.
Right? It's more racing than Twisted Metal, but it's like Death Race Twisted Metal style. I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep my eye on
this. That sounds cool. I'm in on that, man. I'll play with
I'll let you know. Yeah, I'll let you know what happens.
Let me know. That sounds sick, actually. But yeah, the PlayStation Portal looks really cool. My brother and brother-in-law have Steam Decks. They love them. So, like, maybe this will be super cool for you, man. I'm excited to see what you think of that. New product review incoming. That's exciting. Apparently, also, RoboCop has a VR mode now, so I made a mod for it. So I bet you RoboCop's pretty fun in VR. And yeah, I got two games to talk about real quick. One of them is fresh on Xbox Game Pass, Another Crab's Treasure. This is a Souls-like cartoony game, which is interesting. Souls-like is almost always grim and gritty. They kind of pulled away from that a little bit with the Jedi Survivor and Fallen Order installments. Those are sort of a little... They're not quite as grim and gritty, although they do deal with the murder of all the Jedi. This is more like SpongeBob does Dark Souls. It's cool. There's some like social commentary about microplastics that I found amusing. The boss battles are very challenging. The combat's cool, and they add an interesting twist with the you're a hermit crab, and you have the ability to put different garbage and stuff on as a shell, and they provide you with different power-ups and bonuses, and some different play styles as well. It was pretty fun. I don't know that I personally would buy this game, but like if you have Xbox Game Pass, definitely worth a shot. And if you're a Souls fan, it's fun. It's a fun, refreshing entry into the genre. Honestly, I think it is worth checking out for sure. And then the Fallout TV show, right? It had me playing Fallout again. I installed Fallout 3. I forgot that the tutorial for that game is grueling, and you have to pretty much live through the entire life of a person before you get to play. Fallout 4, I installed that because I was like, I just want to play Fallout 4. I didn't give that the same amount of time that I gave Fallout 3 to. I played the shit out of Fallout 3. Fallout 4, I kind of put it down a little earlier, and so I think there's a lot of replayability in it for me here. I'm playing a survival playthrough, and it's brutal. So Fallout, still good. They just released, for whatever reason, a next-gen update for Fallout 4, like literally a week or two ago. So there's something fresh for everybody on Fallout right now. I believe all the games are also available on Xbox Game Pass because it's Bethesda. So I guess that's gaming, fresh games this week, but don't let that discourage you. We still have our fresh picks, and I'll kick it off with Delicious in Dungeon, my fresh pick for the week. Loved it.
It's a good pick.
Check it out on Netflix. It is the anime that you've been craving.
Yep, it sure is. Love Delicious in Dungeon. Great pick, John. Mine also on Netflix is going to be the new Cat Williams stand-up. As a guy who is not a huge... I'm not a stan for Cat Williams. This was one of the best stand-ups I've seen in recent history. It's probably the best thing Cat Williams has ever done, and you guys should check it out.
Hell yeah.
For my fresh pick of the week, there's a lot of things I liked this week. It was hard to pick something I truly loved, but I think overall I'm going to go with The Fall Guy. It's a new release in theaters. It's fun. It's a big action-packed movie. Go see The Fall Guy in theaters. I had a good time.
Awesome! And that concludes our episode of Fresh Out the Podcast. Thanks everyone for listening. We really appreciate you guys. You smell nice, I assume. And have a great week. I'm Johanan, and I'm a game master and a board game guy and your friend.
It's me, Gary. I'm a podcast poppy. I'm a TTRPG titan. You guys can find me here. You guys can find me there. And we're doing the thing. Thank you so much for being here. We'll catch you on the next one.
And I am the professional media and movie mastermind, the Funhouse True Munhausen, and this has been episode 122 of Fresh Out the Podcast. Thanks for listening.
Stay fresh!